So I don't normally like to talk about celebrity or use people's names when I'm talking. I usually attempt to keep everything at a kind of an even keel. Let's talk about the subjects, let's talk about the issues. And I know I haven't done a huge amount of videos, but it's just something that I feel even in my normal day-to-day conversations, it kind of detracts from the conversations. So I don't like to do that, if that makes sense. Um, but there's just no way right now to talk about anything in any way, shape, or form related to Taylor Swift without everybody knowing we're talking about Taylor Swift. It's just that, right? Um, and Taylor Swift is like the embodiment of women's rights. She is the embodiment of what we'd hoped for 100 years ago, what the suffragettes' end goal was, right? What women's rights look like, where a young woman could have this career where she is on the top of the career scale. She is every bit better and more successful than men in the same field. Taylor Swift is the embodiment of smart, intellectual, business savvy, financially savvy, and attractive, gorgeous young woman. She's the epitome of all of that. Absolutely. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And she's also the epitome of the problem with women and women's rights. What? She is the embodiment right now of the problems in women's rights and how we as women like to treat each other. She is embodying one of the biggest problems of them all right now. Because 100 years ago, it was absolutely okay for you or I, as a woman, to marry well. And all of our success came from who we married. But it was not okay in any way, shape, or form for you to have your own. And back then, women who had their own inherited it usually, and often couldn't get married because if they got married, they and their property became their husband's property. So they couldn't do that. You would be giving up your independence. You would be giving up your everything. And as a result, as we've morphed, where women have become more and more successful, the stereotype that women can't have a man and be successful, and the stereotype where women shred each other still for a man, are colliding in Taylor Swift's life. First, we all know women are always jealous, right? I don't give a shit. Like one of these self-proclaimed progressive liberals told me how much she likes Taylor Swift, except she can't stand what she wears. Like that little rat that comes out and starts chewing on your dress. I don't like what she wears. Makes her look like a whore. Give me a fucking break. But that is one of the normal problems a successful woman deals with. I can attest to this, absolutely. I can give examples, and I'm going to give another example. I'm going to give two examples, one that was directed at me and one that was directed at someone else, and I was witness. And then I'm going to talk about Travis Kelce and his relationship with Taylor and how that ends up colliding with all of this. So when I was younger, I was smoking. I didn't know I was smoking, but I was smoking. And I would often be at dinner with coworkers or good friends, and some men, but often women, would run up to my friends. She's a whore. She's a whore. She thinks she's all that, but she's really a nasty whore. She's a nasty bitch. She's nasty, nasty, nasty. Little rats. You walk away, go to the bathroom, and you come back to a whole bunch of rodents at your table. And I imagine it takes a strong man to defend their friend, and I know more than one of my friends defended me in those instances where they would say, I served in the Gulf with her. She's nothing like what you describe. But I'm sure a lot of those weaker men that were around me and got to hear that, they joined in that little rat fest. As a matter of fact, I know they did. Often getting that feedback also. So that problem was created by women, not men. The men just fed on it. Never mind the fact that some of you put me in a position where I had to physically protect myself from men I've worked with. Think about that. How many of you have said something like that about a woman and then put her in a position where she has to protect herself? Physically protect herself. But then you go into, well, it's not just me. I know it's not just me. I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I don't know. There was a point in time where I'm sitting in a business meeting, a whole bunch of senior people, senior mid-level to senior people. And there are 4 women in the room, and there are a dozen or so men. Okay? And the 4 women in the room, one of them she was almost senior everybody else in the room, if not the most senior person in the room. I think she might have been the most senior person in the room. And she and another one of the women proceed to shred a 5th woman that's not in the room. And they shred this woman. I mean, she thinks she's all that. She's this, and this is a completely silent group engulfed in listening to this conversation. She's not as smart as she thinks she is. She's not as pretty as she thinks she is. She's not as wonderful as she thinks she is. This went on for over 10 minutes. And it struck me because I looked at my watch after a couple minutes of it and was like, oh shit. And it kept going on and on. The next time I looked at my watch, more than almost 15 minutes had gone by, literally. Like 13 minutes had gone by, and I was freaked out. And I'm looking at this other woman, the 4th woman in the room, because these 2 are going on and on and on. And her and I are getting these big quarter look eyes and looking at each other and then looking away like we don't know what to do. We know it's inappropriate. We know it shouldn't be going on. And worse yet, both of us are then looking around the room and seeing how it's starting to affect the men. You know, onesie twosie at first, where they're like, and then it's half the fucking room. Keep chewing her up. And I remember when I realized that it was at least 6 men in the room that had that hee look on their face. I immediately am like so self-aware of what's going on and so uncomfortable. And the immediate thought runs through my mind in that moment, this woman must be absolutely drop dead gorgeous. She must be smart. She must be business savvy. She must be happily married. And she must be drop dead gorgeous. Why else would this woman and this other woman just shred her in such an embarrassing scene in the middle of the beginning of a meeting? I had the privilege to meet this woman they shredded 2 months later. And she was absolutely is one of the smartest women I've ever met, one of the most business savvy women I've ever met, one of the most beautiful, and I do not say that lately. When I give a beautiful, I mean she's a gorgeous woman, absolutely gorgeous, physically petite, beautiful smile, beautiful face, well confident, good posture, the whole stereotype of attractive she is. And she's happily married. Jealous, insecure, nasty. Even though the woman that started and instigated this whole thing was actually more successful than this woman. It was embarrassing. I have a very low opinion of that woman. I've never really seen her again or had to deal with her again. I have talked to her before again, but if I never have to talk to her or see her again, it'll be too soon. As with the other one. They just shredded this beautiful, wonderful woman for no other reason than they were jealous. How dare her be smart, successful, and then on top of it be pretty and happily married. How dare her? Which brings us to Taylor being the epitome of all of this, right? Here's Travis Kelce. At the apex of his career, he's like a top notch. He is on a Super Bowl winning team. He is one of the top players in the league. He is Superman in his own right, in his own thing. And he is equally smart and independent thinker and opinionated and thoughtful and all these things that, every woman would dream a man should be. But how dare him want to be with a successful, beautiful, business savvy, top of her game woman? Because she can't have that. She will destroy him. I mean, literally, that was like some of the commentators, like, she's going to destroy him. She's going to jinx him. Get away from her before she turns you into this. And they were so desperate that when they interviewed Travis Kelce's mom after the first time that Taylor Swift attended a Chiefs game, they edited the questions so that when they asked her about Taylor and the mom rolled her eyes, it gave you the impression that she thought Taylor was a bitch. It occurred to me in a split second after, because initially that was my thought that's what the point was, that maybe she was rolling her eyes at the fact they asked the question at all. Why? Because a smart, savvy, business savvy woman with her own shit 100 years ago, once you get married, it's not yours anymore. And how dare you think you can have both? How dare you, you fucking spinster about to happen, think you can have a man and have it all? That's where we are as a society still. That's where we are as women still. Taylor Swift sings that song, The Man. It's a wonderful song, but it's a mantra. It is the anthem of young women still, that they still can't be treated equally. And it isn't just because of men. It's also because of women. I had a man once tell me his favorite song was, if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, make an ugly woman your wife. Make an ugly, unsuccessful, worthless troll your wife, and you will be happy forever. Well, of course you will be. If you're that shallow piece of shit. But Taylor Swift is the embodiment of where my grandmothers thought we would be today. They actually probably figured that as a society, we should have been where Taylor is right now, where She can have the man, she can have all of it, and still be in the apex of her game without somebody telling her she has to leave the game because now she's Travis's property. But no, instead we still shame the men. Look at the way she dresses. She's too opinionated. She's gonna ruin you. That's where we are as women. Still. That's who we are. Still. And there's no woman watching this that doesn't know what I'm talking about. I don't like her because she's too opinionated. I don't like her because she dresses the way she dresses. I don't like her because I don't feel comfortable around her. I don't feel comfortable around her. Let's be honest, you don't feel comfortable around her because she's prettier than you. It really comes back down to that shallow bullshit. She's prettier than you. She's sexier than you. If she's just smart and opinionated, but she's a dog, you don't care. The men will. They'd be making fun of Travis Kelce like it's going out of style if Taylor Swift was, basically a chihuahua. Come on. We know. We as women know. There's no doubt we know. Literally no doubt we all know. We all pretend we don't though, don't we? All pretend you don't know. Well, you do the same thing. To me, that's always a neon sign. The minute one of you says something about the way somebody dresses, the way they talk, or what they look like. Hair color, skin color, way they do their hair, any of that shit. Anything that's shallow like that. You are a shallow bitch. I don't care how much you progress. You claim to be progressive. You're a liar. You hate other women for looking better than you. You hate other women for having more than you. You hate other women for being better than you. But they're not better than you. That's you in your mind. And until women get past that, Taylor Swift is the mantra instead of all of us. Think about it. You have people on the internet claiming that because of Taylor Swift, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, Armageddon! World War III! Taylor and her army of women demons! Come on! Who do you think empowers those idiots? Sure. Some of those men are just that stupid. But a lot of women have empowered that and are still empowering it. And it's time that women that are like that start taking responsibility. And if they don't want to take responsibility, call them out. And this is me calling them out. You don't want to talk about certain issues. You don't want other women who you perceive as smarter, more attractive, especially as more attractive one. Jesus, God, you guys lose your minds. Better dressed, more successful. You don't want to have those conversations with them. I feel uncomfortable. And you create this aura that allows men, like the ones attacking Travis Kelce, to get away with it. You create that environment. And until we all, as women, accept that's part of the problem for our rights, we're just as culpable. And until a lot of you are willing to call that out, like in that room that day, that office meeting, that I didn't say a word because I didn't know anybody in the room per se, and I didn't know what to do. And that woman was senior, so absolutely no way to do it. It's going to keep happening. It's going to keep going. And that's why instead of Taylor being, nobody's questioning her ability, and maybe just people in the middle classes being questioned, we are still questioned from as high as high up as she is, still get questioned. The men that love them and adore them still get attacked. That's where we're still at. What a shitty society are we? But more importantly, ladies, time to take responsibility. You can't hate on other women because they have more of something you don't have. Your perception or reality. And then claim you're for women's rights, because you're not. You're enabling those men to be ugly to women just as much as anybody else, and even more so because you're actually a woman. Give it some thought. Try and be better from now. Peace.